Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got two for you today. They're the stars of This Morning on ITV. They've got their own website. You can find out more at Speakmans.tv. They're two of the country's leading psychotherapists who offer a therapy called Shima Conditioning Psychotherapy. The Speakmans are two of my favourite people on This Morning with Philip and Holly. And I'm delighted to say that Nik and Eva join us live on the show now. How are you both?
We're great, thank you. Yeah, really good, thank you.
Do you know what I love about you? There are so many negative people in the world who drain the life out of you. You're the opposite. You really try and give back, and you spend your life trying to help people, and their lives can be pretty bad, can't they? It's as dark as it gets.
Oh my word, yeah. Some of the things that we've worked with Alex have, literally life and death. A lot of people that we help, they come to us because they've literally hit the end of the road. I think a case that really springs to mind was a case that we worked on in January on This Morning, and we helped a guy who last year alone tried to commit suicide 3 times, and this was because he'd been told, he'd been everywhere. He'd been told by psychiatrists, psychologists, neurologists, and every therapist he saw that he was incurable, and the consequence of that and the post-traumatic stress disorder that he suffered, he just felt that it just wasn't worth living, and like I say, sadly tried to take his life 3 times last year. We met him on the 21st of December, saw him once and literally got him over everything, and he had probably one of the most extreme cases of post-traumatic stress disorder because he was also fitting. They called him myoclonic jerks, but for quite a few years they actually thought he had epilepsy, and were treating him for epilepsy, and it wasn't. It was all part of the trauma from having had been attacked when he was in his car. It literally was a carjacking, because he refused to get out of the car. They smashed the window, dragged him out, and beat him severely. So very rewarding what we do, and it's nice to give people hope.
Isn't it amazing how mental illness has become one of the most talked about things, I think, in the last 2 years? And I think you were part of that. Before then, it was sort of embarrassing and shameful and something that you only talked about to yourself. Now we try and talk to our family, and then there are people like you. It's so important, isn't it? Because it seems to me with most of the cases that you deal with, people just want somebody to listen, if nothing else.
I think that's a big problem. Big problem that's out there is lack of hope, and there's hope for anyone. And talking to people and just getting rid of this stigma, because ultimately, what mental health, for the way that we look at mental health, is that it's actually understanding emotions, and and there's no handbook for emotions. There's no handbook how we should feel in certain situations. You know what? If there was something like, if you lose a parent, turn to page 50. If you have your heart broken, turn to page 45 and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier. But we feel that because we don't talk about these things, that there is a stigma. And one case that springs to mind for me, very much so, is that we worked with a soldier who was frontline, worked with the SAS, and he was part of the troops that actually were looking for the 52 people for the pack of cards in Iraq, the 52 most wanted. And basically, with the SAS, they would turn up at a house when they got some intel, and they'd burst the door open, and they had no idea what was on the other side of that door. So he was suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder in various different ways. And we worked with him on This Morning. And he said what he couldn't understand is the rate of them in the unit that were still alive and came back to the UK. And he looked at the other 7 and thought, they've got their life together, they're okay. Why is it I'm falling apart? And he just felt broken. And yet, after being on the show and we helped him get over this, the others all rang him, every single one of them, and said, oh my God, it's not just me. I didn't realise that you were suffering as well.
Yeah, so that's the great thing, you're saying about, it's really now coming into the forefront, and it's becoming a topic of conversation. And for us, I can't tell you, Alex, that is just, it's such a relief, and it's just so wonderful that people are now starting to speak, because nobody's immune to mental health issues, and it's actually, like Nick said, it's a mismanagement of emotions. Our lives can be up, they can be down, and you don't always know how best to deal with things, but certainly not talking about it and holding it in just magnifies the symptoms. So it's really encouraging. Like I said, we've sort of been on this mission now. I think we've been on This Morning for 7 years now, and that's been our mission, was to raise awareness, to give people hope, and to show people that it's okay. It's okay to say I need help and that there's something wrong. So we're absolutely thrilled that this is now a topic that is proving to be something that a lot of people are feeling able to talk about and share.
I'm fascinated by people. I did late night phone-ins for over 10 years, and the thing that always made me lose sleep was, did I have the right answer? How do you both know you've got the right answer to cure somebody of what might be life-threatening to them?
We know that as long as you're not born with a condition, which ultimately any anxiety disorder you're not born with. So what we know is that means that there was one day where you were okay, and then one day where it all changed. And what we know is that because nobody's born with post-traumatic stress disorder, fears, phobias, obsessive-compulsive disorders, eating disorders, sort of self-harm, etc., then we know that if someone's not born with that, then what that means that something has happened that made that occur, and that all we need to do is look for that moment of change. So the first thing that is, we always assure everybody, look, if you weren't born with it, then that means that you don't have to live with it forevermore. It might be a little bit of detective work, we might have to do a little bit of digging, but ultimately we know that we can help anybody. And like I say, not necessarily always in one session. It might take a little bit of time if somebody's unsure of what the installation of their trauma or their condition. But ultimately, we know that everybody can be helped.
One thing that we always work on, in fact, that although a lot of set of circumstances are the same, everyone is individual, because what actually causes issues is or the person's interpretation of an event, and that interpretation is totally individual.
It's interesting when I watch you on This Morning. I mean, we've talked very seriously about some of the more dramatic cases, and then there are just some ludicrous situations, whether it be clowns or spiders, and things that are very funny, let's face it, and hugely entertaining. But to that person, it's as serious as any of the things we've just discussed. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It can be so debilitating. And even recently, we had a lady who had a heart attack because she had a massive fear of spiders.
I know, and then there was a lady, which I think probably created the most sort of discussion on social media, certainly, was a lady who approached This Morning asking for our help because, I don't know if you saw this one, Alex, but she had a phobia, get this, to Simon Cowell.
Well, we've all got that, let's face it.
But really, I mean, everybody was so sceptical, and it was like, is this real? And a lot of people had a good laugh about it. But we actually did put her on a heart monitor before we showed her pictures of him, and it was absolute fact. The woman was petrified of him, and I think we're sort of laughing about about funny phobias, but one thing that really I remember very vividly was what she was telling us. She worked in a supermarket, in a big supermarket, and at the side of her was the sort of newspapers, etc. And she said that literally she had to get a friend to check what was on the front pages of the papers, because if she were to walk into work and there was a picture of Simon Cowell on the front of the paper, she'd just have an absolute meltdown.
Wow. I have the same thing with Vanessa Feltz. It was an incident at a BBC party in 1987, but we better not talk about that right now. It's not about...
Move on from that.
To work with your partner is always a struggle because you know everything that's happened in both of your days. Has there ever been a point where you've considered working separately? Because it's tough, isn't it, when you know everything about every second of every day? Do you get on each other's nerves?
Do you know what? Not at all.
Yeah, no, surprisingly, we actually don't. Funnily enough, I actually went. I had an appointment the other day, actually at the dentist, and the lady on the reception looked really shocked, and I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And she just said, "Oh, are you on your own?" And I was like, "Yes." And she said, "Is your husband not with you?" And I was like, "No. There are occasions where we are actually separated." But yeah, no, remarkably, I mean, literally, Alex, we've been together for 26 years. Did you notice how I very quickly prompted
wasn't sure.
You're denying a year already, Eva. You've got to be careful.
We've been together for 26 years. We've been married for 21, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
And literally, we do everything together. We go to the gym together. We hang out together. We work together. But the great thing is that we're always looking for ways that things can be better and things. So even like with our kids, they come home and tell us what happened in school, and we look at positive ways we can look at what happened to them in the day, and we just like putting the world to rights, and we like sort of observing human behaviour. So the nature of our job means that there's always something to talk about.
Do you know what concerns me the most? I think about the generation beneath me is social media and this obsession with the self. I don't think we've ever had a more narcissistic generation that are PRing their lives and their selves, taking these selfies day in and day out, obsessing over this side of their face and that side of the eyeball and this bottom of the chin and this side of the arm. It's not healthy, is it, to have this level of introspection to yourself and this obsession?
It's not at all, and I think I think this is why we've had such an explosion with people having anxiety-related conditions, because we're looking to others for our self-esteem instead of having that, instead of that coming from within. And one of the worst stories we heard recently was a girl who went to buy some. Her mum took her to get some new trainers, and she loved these trainers. Tried them on, they fitted, and mum says, "Right, let's go and pay for them." And she said, "Well, let me take photographs of them first." And she said, "Well, yeah, I'll still pay for them." She said, "No, let me take photographs of them first. I want to put them on social media, and if I get over 20 likes, then we'll come back and buy them."
I mean, honestly, you've hit on such a topic there, Alex, that both of us are genuinely very concerned about. I mean, honestly, the impact of social media, particularly on young people, is proving so detrimental. I mean, even things like low self-esteem, body dysmorphia, eating disorders, self-harm, and bullying. All these things have escalated so much because of social media. And the thing is, like bullying is a big deal, and it's something that when we do our workshops, it's a question that we always ask about show of hands. How many people have ever experienced bullying in their life, whether that be within the family, at school, or within the workplace? And it's really hard to spot the people that haven't lifted the hand up. They're very few and far between. And with social media, you see, when we were at school, for example, we may have got bullied at school, but the school bell went and we went home and that was it.
Right.
You got a bit of respite from it. Whereas now, it actually, if someone's bullying you at school, they can then continue on social media and on all these various platforms, and these young people are getting no respite from it, and obviously, suicide in young people is something that is incredibly concerning as well. So yeah, social media, I do think that it has. It does cause a lot of issues in this world, and I don't actually see how that's going to improve.
And obviously, Eva's mentioning that someone has now got the availability to bully someone 24 hours a day, but also you can get bullied by people that you don't even know, because obviously that makes it a lot easier. And I don't know if you're aware of the Be Kind campaign that we've been involved in this morning.
When you say pledge, I think people presume money. No, it's pledging kindness. That's it. It's just pledging to be kind.
To watch the video.
Yeah, it was just a pledge to watch the film, and that is it. That is because the film says it all, and to share it with people and share it with school. But yeah, the Be Kind campaign has been something. I mean, that has been very rewarding, because we know that it's making a difference, and it has made a difference.
I do blame people like Simon Cowell for some of this, though, because those type of people made it acceptable for you to be mean and for that to be entertainment. And I think the worst example is Big Brother, where we watch for the nastiness more than the fun. TV does have a responsibility in this.
Yeah, do you know what, though? I think that when we live in a world where we do feel very self-critical as a result of things like social media, that it kind of, I know, as sad as it sounds, that when you're feeling really bad about yourself, it's sometimes make yourself feel better, and this is the whole scenario with bullies, is they are usually people who have got very low self-esteem and feel really bad about themselves, and they look at people who are intelligent, who are popular, who are kind, and because they've got such low self-esteem, they don't believe that they can be as good as that person, and as a consequence of that, the next thing that they default to is, well, if I pull that other person down, I'll just feel, I'll be at a slightly higher position and feel slightly better about myself.
You've almost got to sort the world out one by one, the pair of you, really. You should be in everybody's home. It's tricky, isn't it? Because I think we've all got our own issues. It's just to what level?
It is, but you know what, Alex, I think that as long as that, it's very important what's going on in the home as well, because, I think that things do start in the home, and certainly with children and moving forward, we've got to sort of show an example. We've got to make our children aware of things like the Be Kind campaign and the consequence of bullying, and just highlighting that, okay, this you're saying about television, that's an entertainment, but that isn't the norm, and that's not how it should be. So I think that we do have a responsibility for those of us who are parents as well, to sort of try and nip it in the bud by explaining to our young people and children that isn't the right way to be.
I think conversely, obviously talking about TV shows, that I'm a Celeb to Get Me Out of Here, when it's a happy camp, they tend to have higher viewing figures. Yep. I think I'm right with that. Again,
the last camp was a really happy camp from memory, and it did really well. There wasn't really any particular wars that I remember in the last one.
No, so again, that sort of like makes me feel a bit better, that people actually do like to see a nice scenario where people are helping out, they're all clubbing together, and they're all working together as well.
And as for you two, would you ever do a show like that, or would we ever see you on Strictly? You don't tend to do reality stuff, do you?
No, we don't. We did actually, for the first time, we did Keith Levin's Celebrity Juice a few weeks ago.
How did that go?
Do you know what?
We had a lot of fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. Rather nervous.
Yeah, you've got to go armed, haven't you, with him?
Yeah, but you know what? It was absolutely brilliant. It was just so much fun. Yeah. But yeah, whether we do a reality show, I certainly couldn't do Big Brother. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Nick's never camped in his life. He's never done the outdoor thing.
That would be the biggest challenge. I'm not bothered about any creatures or anything. It's just actually sleeping outdoors.
Yeah, he's got to think about it. He's never done that before.
Well, you're like me, aren't you? You like running water in a 5-star hotel. That's what you'd say.
Absolutely.
And as far as Strictly goes, oh my goodness, Nick has got 2 left feet, and absolutely no rhythm. So I could not possibly allow the general public put them through
but that could be the genius. We like the guy we laugh at, and then you could be delicious, and collectively you'd win the whole series, you see.
Oh, well, you never know then. Maybe.
You never know. Are you two living the dream now? I mean, to be on This Morning opposite Philip and Holly, who are just top of the business right now and are so good at what they do, and then to be touring the UK. I know last year it was a major success, and now you're doing these workshops. People can find out more by going to Speakmans.tv. It's an amazing life and career you've created. You're sort of living the dream, really.
Do you know, I think we are. We actually are. And it's funny you should say those exact words, because we were out a few weeks ago in London, and we just sort of looked around at our friends and the people that we were with and the night that we were having. We just said, you know what, we're really living the dream. We've got a great relationship and a great friendship. We've got 2 most incredible children. We work with amazing people on This Morning, genuinely all very kind, very compassionate. Everybody's just so lovely. The most important thing is we get to help people who are really struggling, and also helping people who we will never even meet. The amount of emails and messages we get, the people coming up into us in the street, letters that we receive saying just something that we said, helping somebody else on This Morning, made a difference to them and helped them to change their life for the better.
I think that really is amazing, because that is behind the scenes stuff that we don't even know about. So even last Saturday, a lady came up to me and said, I just want to say thanks. And I said, oh, right, have we met? And she said, no, but I watched you on This Morning, and as a result of some things that you've said, you cured my fear of flying. Wow. And then we get emails on a regular basis where people say, I saw you on This Morning and you said this to X, Y, and Z, and as a result of that, I'm now over this. And I think most people will get emails saying that, do you know what, I might never be able to see you personally. However, what you have done is given me hope that I don't have to live with this forever, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And in fact, we even got a card just this morning, which is a handmade card, and it just says on it, Nik and Eva Speakman are very special. And this is someone who says, let me just read this here because I'm not really proper myself yet. I don't do Facebook or social media, but I just wanted to share with you what's happened since watching you on TV. You've helped me so much in dealing with overcoming my post-traumatic stress disorder and flashbacks, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
I do think people in life either radiate love and heat or they just drain the life out of you, and you're certainly heat givers. At this time of terror and all that's going on in the world, for those that are just generally anxious, the reality is you're more likely to get knocked over by a bus than blown up by a terrorist. Are there any words of comfort? Because it is a tough time just to exist, isn't it, right now?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? You've got to... like you say, you've got to concentrate. You know, we've got a choice. And I think Shakespeare said, nothing is good or bad, only thinking makes it so. And we all have a choice on what we choose to think about. And absolutely, you know, there is, you know, we're living in a time currently where there is a lot of fear. However, like that is just a minority. You know, that to be able to, you know, it's wrong, and there's no words that can make it feel better. But and it's not personal to anybody individually. You know, what you've got to look at is your own life, the great things that you've got going on in your life, the things that you're grateful for. I mean, literally every morning it takes about a minute. Nik and I talk about gratitude and what we're grateful for, and just that in itself, thinking about what you're grateful for, it just starts your day off on a higher position. So even if you do get some knocks in the day, you don't get knocked quite so low. Fear
is always disproportionate to reality, isn't it? For example, if you've got a fear of flying, how many planes fall out the sky? They just don't, do they? It's very rare.
You know, that's absolutely true. And fear is the only emotion that's based on something that may happen. Right. And we like to refer to fear as false evidence that appears real. And therefore, what I mean by that is that you've had some false evidence in the past, and therefore it now appears real to you, but it's not real, because if you compare yourself to the world, then you can see that actually you're the one with the problem. But, you know, fear's always been around in the world, and I think it's just a matter of putting things into perspective, and by putting things into perspective, you can always make any situation a better situation. And one thing that, you know, one advice that I would always give to people is, if something bad happens, just try and put that into perspective and look at, you know, what was good about that bad thing happening. So, for example, you go to your car and you find out you've got a flat tire. You know, it's a massive inconvenience. You've either got to get the tyre fixed, or you either do it yourself, you get someone else to do it for you. But the great thing is, you walked to your car and saw the flat tyre. It could have happened on the motorway whilst you were driving at 70 miles an hour. So essentially, it's a good thing.
I love those celeb specials you do very finely. Are we going to get any more of those? That series you did for ITV, The Speakmans, was just wonderful. And you get to talk to these stars, and we see that they're flawed too. Are we going to get more of that?
Yes, maybe. We're just currently, if I'm honest with you, Alex, we're currently working very closely with Amsterdam University. So our time has been very taken with that. In that, they're just doing scientific studies based on our therapy. And that's something.
It's very exciting for us.
It's really exciting. All we've ever wanted, we developed our own therapy, and all we've ever wanted to do is to really get it medically approved and share it with the NHS and be able to spread it out more people with it, because it is very, very effective. And it just feels so wonderful that we're it's quite a long drawn out process, because obviously for the world of science, everything has to be completely set up in a particular way. So it's been quite time consuming. We hope to have that done by the end of this year, certainly the start of next year, and then we would definitely look at doing some more things in TV.
From what you've just said, if you're going to get it scientifically approved, it means your theory must be mathematical, not individual. So you're saying, even though we're all different, the brain operates in the same way and is cured in the same way. That is revolutionary.
Well, we actually do believe that. We do believe that, that although we do have we do all work in the same way ultimately. So, for example, we have people that contact us all the time about phobias, for example, and they will say, yeah, but mine is this, and yeah, but mine is that. Well, ultimately, a phobia is based upon you fearing something that is only real to you and a minority, and not real in the world.
I see.
But yeah, there is a process behind it. And like I said, we're really excited that we've been working with the university, who have been amazing, and they themselves have been quite, obviously I'm not allowed to, can't talk about it too much, but the results so far, based upon other recognised therapies, our therapy has been far more successful and quicker at obtaining quicker results.
And what's amazing about that is that obviously to be able to pass this on, it can't be us. There's only two of us. So what we did, we went up to Amsterdam initially, which was last year, and trained a professor. And it was her that delivered the therapy, because they wanted to obviously make sure that it was people were able to be trained in the therapy, and so it's amazing. It was amazing for us to know that our therapy was being actioned with people, and it wasn't by ourselves.
We actually weren't doing the therapy. We were just doing the training, and then just making sure that everything was really impartial. That our job is just sort of to guide them and to observe, to ensure that it's that everything is by the book, as it were.
So do you think we could be looking at the Speakman method as an international thing that could cure people in years to come? This could be a real international, global thing.
Really, and that for us, Alex, has always been our mission, and that is a reality now.
Incredible.
Certainly with the way that as things have developed. Like I say, obviously in the world of science, things take a little bit longer. There's protocols that have to be followed. Yeah. There's obviously the General Medical Council that have to. And things that we have to approve for them. So, but the results so far have been incredible. They're absolutely blown away by the results. And what for us is just the most encouraging thing is that the therapy was delivered not by us. It was delivered by other people. We trained them in English, yet they're delivering it in Dutch. And still, the results have been just amazing. So yeah, that's really encouraging too.
Incredible achievement. And you're going to be back on ITV tomorrow, Wednesday, with a new case. Tell us about it.
That's right. We're on tomorrow. We work with a couple who 15 months ago were burgled at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the husband went downstairs and found himself with an intruder who had a screwdriver at his throat, and then another intruder came in and put a gun to his head. So it was particularly violent. The wife, who was upstairs and wondering what was going on, but she could hear a scuffle, and she knew that her husband was getting beaten up, actually jumped out the bedroom window and broke a foot, and
wow.
Ran to get the police. And they've been traumatised ever since then, to the point that the gentleman, Brian, had suicidal thoughts. The lady, Jo, had a complete breakdown. And they got to the point where they didn't feel safe in the house. So they put the house on the market, and this is a beautiful 5-bedroom house that they've left, put it on the market, and actually moved into a travel lodge.
Yeah, so
wow.
It's the effects of the post-traumatic stress disorder have just been vast.
Well, if you're attacked in your own home, that's got to be the worst, because that's the one place you're meant to feel safe. So don't give it away, but how do you go about making them feel like that's not going to happen again? Because that's the fear, isn't it? Tonight, somebody else is going to come in.
Exactly.
That's right. And you know what? And this can happen to, I suppose, anyone, anywhere, because, in recent times it happened to Kim Kardashian when she was in France.
Yeah, and I'd be really interested to know whether she suffered with post-traumatic stress disorder, but the likelihood is that she has, because it is quite, it's just so traumatizing to have your own space, somewhere where it's considered to be your safe zone, sort of taken away from you, in essence, because that's what they've done. These people have had to flee their home, but literally all the main crux of helping somebody with this is to understand that it's a financially driven crime, and it's actually about possessions and not about people. And so our therapy with Brian and Jo, as you'll see on Wednesday, was primarily around the fact that it wasn't actually personal. It wasn't about them. It was just about the possessions.
Wow. And if Kim Kardashian is listening, you'd like to help her, you're available if she needs help.
Absolutely.
Very much so. And while statistics say that 1 in 3 people that witness a trauma or are involved in a trauma will lead to having post-traumatic stress disorder, if you're actually in a situation where you feel that you could potentially die and your life is totally under threat, which was exactly what happened with Brian and Joe. Because with Brian, obviously, they had the gun to his head, they had the screwdriver to his throat, and one guy was saying, you stab him in the throat, and the other one was saying, no, you shoot him in the head.
Wow.
So he actually thought that he was going to die, and in the same way, I believe that because they had a gun to Kim's head, in the same way, if she thought that she was going to die in that moment, then she will pretty sure about suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder, and if that's the case, we could help Kim in one session. And the interesting thing about post-traumatic stress disorder in America and also in the UK, it's considered incurable. It's considered a situation that you should manage, whereas so far on This Morning we've worked with 20 people and we've actually cured them all.
Well, it's lovely to talk to you. Nik and Eva Speakman are our special guests. You can find out more by going to their website, speakman.tv. They're two of the country's leading psychotherapists. You can find out more about their Shima conditioning psychotherapy by Googling speakman.tv. Nik and Eva, thank you so much for your time. Great to talk to you.
Our pleasure.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.